Classified Acres on YouTube addressed the question, asked them, who would die first, a prepper or a homesteader? That got me to thinking about homesteading and prepping, and I concluded you can't have either without having both. I tend to think of us as homesteaders who are prepping all the time, and preppers who have to be homesteaders of some fashion before they can be preppers. So just for a minute, let's call us home preppers. For either, prepping takes time, right? The longer you prepare, the better or more efficient your preps are. Living on the same land or in the same house for a long time seems logical that you would be more effective in your preps. So if you are anticipating buying land that suits your homesteading needs, it is a good goal to work for, but you have to have a job first to get the money to buy anything. So focus first on what your skills are and make the most money you can in the same time. Don't get caught up in trying to be a Jack or a Jill of all skills. Just work the skills that suit you. Me, it was a progressive advancement at a factory in a skill of maintenance. You and only you can determine the risk of purchasing a home with little down, or a decisive large down to start the homestead life. I see young folks buy land and then want the whole garden, animal, house, barn, truck, canning, solar, wood burning, and cutting systems in less than a year. Sorry, that's not a reasonable plan. If you move into a shed or camper to downsize, be prepared to suffer the cold and heat extremes and struggle to have the storage for other items. Have you ever noticed that the old farms had little houses and large barns? Barns can store lots of things, but it didn't happen all in a day. Neighbors commonly helped build the barn, which was big enough to raise animals, store crops, tools, and they usually had skilled trade where they either worked iron, wood, or leather goods to trade or sell. Initial plans seldom worked out, especially like they are planned. Be prepared to have setbacks and occasionally successes. Check out things before buying in an area. Visit the area in each season. Once you locate an area, you may meet your homesteading needs. Stop by, visit the neighborhood, and get acquainted with the local community to see if these are the neighbors you would like to live by and with. Like one old neighbor said, sometimes you buy a big fence with a farm because you can't live with the neighbors. So you are really buying a home instead of a farm. You will work it to prepare for the season and events in your life. Don't get caught up with the bug-out bag or bug-in preps. Set yourself a goal for survival skills. Survival rules of 3. Rules number 1, air. I like to think of this as getting a place where you can breathe the freedom and rights given by our Creator. In order to keep these freedoms, there must be unity and a price to pay, because freedom isn't free. Neighbors, community, and a common faith is essential to maintain this air of freedom. Rule number 2, a shelter. Finding a mentor who is willing to share the local wisdom in regarding soil, weather, wildlife, plants, and water availability can make the difference in success or failure. Waiting until you have moved there is haphazardous and can risk your initial investment. Spend time in the area in all seasons to know what it may be like, but keep in mind, a mentor can tell you about those things and those years that were exceptions. Your shelter can start with a large barn, big enough to live in at first while developing your home prepping skills, and you can take time to determine where it's best suited to build a home. Your house is usually located a short distance from the barn, unless your barn will have a lot of animals, which can collect flies and a lot of manure. To me, a shelter is like a castle. Consider what predators are in your area and secure your shelter and your homestead area to prevent loss. A shelter is your home. You sleep, eat, rest, and store things, and it protects you from the heat, cold, and any predators. It's your hospital and your private or sometimes your public place. The size of your shelter is in your mind and your pocketbook. Rule number 3, food and water. I like to think of food as any consumable items, including herbs and medicines. Food should be a medicine to our body, right? Your home prepping needs to include all the herbs, vegetables, and meats and proteins your family and your local community may eat. Searching out what your neighbors are harvesting can give you a clue to what they don't grow or raise, which can give you a product to raise and trade or sell. It also gives you knowledge of what you may want to trade or buy that they have. We need to learn and practice negotiating and trading as part of our culture. Eve was the first person to trade. She traded her soul for an apple. An honest trader will not allow greed to enter. There are books and videos on gardening, and I chuckle on the new names they call planting a seed, watering, and letting our Creator grow it, cause it to grow. Your growing zone will determine what type of gardening you will need. Knowing what you need to eat and knowing how much you need to plant to last a season is vital. Planting extras for visitors or for trade is also a calculable benefit, especially if you may be getting occasional freezes that could cause crop loss. Water is the lifeblood of the living things. A duck can drink muddy water, but you can't. So sanitary water is vital for survival. Knowing how much water is available throughout each season is also available. Do you see how important a mentor is in your local area? They can teach you what it would take a lifetime to learn in a few years. Consider developing a relationship with a mentor and bring them some produce and sit down and drink a cup of coffee or tea and have your notebook with your questions and see where it goes, because real treasures will be revealed and you will reap a store of life-saving knowledge in home prepping. Knowing where the water is available, how much, and the quality of the water is vital. Questions about how to store water for those months of little rain, either by pond or by cistern, may result in catastrophic events in the future. Each homestead is different, but they all have common necessities like the survival rules of 3. Your initial choice will reduce the risk and stress, which is the equalizers to success. My hope is that you do have success, which brings you freedom and faith in your new home prepping life. Give it your best and take God with you. Thank you.